In pregnancy and new motherhood, a woman experiences physical, psychological, and social changes. This developmental transition is referred to as matrescence. There are so many changes that it can be hard to know what's healthy. While some people have the blissful pregnancy glow, many others feel neutral or even miserable for parts of pregnancy. Not every pregnancy is the same, and therefore not every woman's experience is the same. Disliking being pregnant is not the same as being depressed, nor does it mean anything about your ability to be a good mother. Most people have their good days and their bad days. There's a huge range of what's okay for someone to feel. In addition, each pregnancy the same woman has will be different. Women often notice that their second pregnancy feels different from their first, which makes them worry that their second pregnancy is abnormal or not going okay. One example of this is Grace's story. After an early miscarriage of her first pregnancy, Grace was able to become pregnant again. She experienced prolonged nausea in this second pregnancy. Rather than be bothered by the weeks of nausea, she found it very comforting. Her nausea felt like a constant reminder that she was still pregnant and that the baby was doing okay. Her nausea allayed her fears of losing another pregnancy. She ultimately gave birth to a healthy baby. A few years later, Grace became pregnant again, but with this pregnancy, she didn't have any nausea, and she worried that something was wrong with the baby. She bought a fetal heart monitor to check for her baby's heartbeat throughout the day. Her need for constant reassurance fed her anxiety. In our work together, I explained how differently the exact same woman might experience each of her pregnancies, which comforted her. We set a limit to how often she could check the baby's heartbeat in order to manage this obsessive behavior. Now, despite the fact that her pregnancies were very different, she has 2 healthy babies. There are some common symptoms of pregnancy. It can make you feel profoundly exhausted. You may find yourself wanting an hour or 2 longer to sleep each night or needing naps. You may have nausea, particularly in the first 3 to 4 months of pregnancy. Your appetite can increase, and you can experience cravings. You may have greater physical discomfort, such as lower back pain. Sleep troubles are common. You may find yourself moody or irritable. This is all normal. It's also normal not to feel these things. It's okay to love being pregnant too. You might have noticed many of the common feelings of pregnancy are similar to the symptoms of depression: fatigue, irritability, mood changes, aches and pains. It's true that there are some commonalities between how one can feel while pregnant and while depressed, but there are ways to differentiate them. For example, a pregnant woman's mood may be up and down. Depression is different. It hinders a person from feeling pleasure or joy. Sometimes depression even prevents a person from feeling sadness and leaves them feeling numb. Pregnancy, however, does not inherently alter a woman's sense of self-esteem in the way depression does. If your mood stays low for over 2 weeks, impairs your ability to function, or results in relationship distress, or if you dislike being a mother, you might have postpartum depression. If after reading the symptoms of PPD and PPA, you think you have depression or you're not sure, talk to a trained professional. A perinatal therapist can help you navigate these changes and gain coping skills to prevent problems and hasten recovery if caught early. Here's what you can expect. Life will be very different after having a baby. You will be responsible for another human being in a way you haven't been before. However, you may also experience greater joy and pleasure than you ever have before. Profound changes occur even before you give birth. First, let's talk about what happens to your brain perinatally. Recent research has shown that your brain structure actually changes. A neuroscientist, Elseline Hoxima, found changes in the parts of the brain responsible for social cognition and memory. These changes are so significant that it is possible to determine who has given birth and who has not just by comparing MRI brain scans over time. Isn't that wild? The changes Hoxsma observed enhance a mother's ability to figure out what her baby wants and needs. The changes seen in the brain also explain a phenomenon sometimes referred to as mommy brain. New mothers often feel forgetful. They can remember a multitude of things relating to the care of the babies, but can have trouble remembering other things like where the keys are or whether they've eaten. Hoxsma's study found changes in the size of a woman's hippocampus following birth. The hippocampus is an area in the brain involved in consolidating information from short-term memory into long-term memory. Memories relating to the needs of your baby are consolidated better than other extraneous information. This may be responsible for the forgetfulness and trouble concentrating that some women notice after having a baby. While frustrating at times, this intense focus on child rearing is a beneficial adaptive change for mothers. In addition, there are changes in the function of the amygdala after giving birth. This portion of the brain processes emotional responses. It directs attention to interactions which arouse emotional responses within the mother. So interacting with one's baby becomes more emotionally rewarding, which further motivates mothers to nurture their babies. There are brain changes occurring at the molecular level as well. Hormone levels surge in pregnancy. The hormone oxytocin, often called the love hormone, is key to creating the strong bond between mother and child. The amygdala has an abundance of receptors for oxytocin, which increases mothering and caretaking behavior. Other responses associated with an increase in oxytocin include higher levels of trust, protective aggression like mama bear mode, and improved social memory. Breastfeeding causes a release of oxytocin. It simultaneously encourages release of milk and bonding with the baby. One of the reasons breastfeeding is so strongly encouraged. Oxytocin also inhibits the release of cortisol, the stress hormone. As you may recall, high levels of cortisol are found in people with depression or anxiety. At this point, we don't fully understand the relationship between depression and oxytocin. Research is ongoing, but is yet to determine if depression lowers the oxytocin effect or if lowered oxytocin causes depression. It's also possible that both PPD and disturbances of oxytocin are both due to some other factors. Pregnancy and birth change your body as well. Physical transformations such as weight gain, stretch marks, varicose veins, and so on, all can affect your self-esteem at a time when you may be feeling more insecure because of your new role as mother. Although some women may view their bodies as having the powerful ability to create and sustain life, that's practically magic. There are numerous psychological adaptations that occur in matrescence. There is a reworking and restructuring of a woman's cognitive framework. She experiences a change in her identity and the way she relates to her world. The needs of the self make room for the needs of the baby. Reality becomes focused through a lens that now prioritizes the care of a baby. She develops what author Dr. Daniel Stern calls the motherhood mindset. Essentially, your identity goes through huge shifts. You shift from daughter to mother, from care receiver to caregiver. These can be bittersweet changes. Instead of receiving comfort, you're now the one who gives it. There's a weight to this new responsibility. This transition is both natural and profound. The motherhood mindset helps a mother alter her priorities to care for her baby. Old patterns of behavior and thinking end as new ones are created. This cognitive metamorphosis happens without conscious intent, yet it is necessary in the preparation for motherhood. The reworking of one's identity, the shift in priorities, the change in daily habits, it's mentally taxing. This cognitive restructuring may partly explain the increased vulnerability to depression during the perinatal period. Psychologists often see people develop depression when there is a change in one's coping strategies. So with so much of one's identity in flux, it makes sense that there's an increased risk of depression. Beyond the physical and psychological changes of matrescence, there are also changes in your social roles. Your relationship with your partner changes. When you have a baby, your attention and energy are focused on your baby. This means you have a lot less time for your spouse. Plus, you will need more support from them. It's common for couples to feel like they are both simultaneously giving more than their fair share. When you bond with your baby, the love you feel overrides every other connection you have ever felt. It's an intense yet peacefully fulfilling love. Your happiness in life is now bound to the security and wellness of this other being. This can increase your sense of vulnerability. You have much more to risk in life now, but this is balanced by an enduring source of pride, adding more joy and contentment to your life. Maybe more than you ever previously thought possible. Connection to other mothers. With this shift in one's identity comes an increased ability to relate and connect with other mothers. After having my first child, I found I connected with the experiences of mothers everywhere. I remember watching a woman being interviewed on TV from Afghanistan. She was living in a makeshift tent, caring for prematurely born twins. Winter was arriving, and she had no heat, running water, diapers, or access to medical care. As I watched TV, I looked around my living room and my warm, comfortable home. I had a healthy baby, plenty of food and water, and access to health care. Seeing this stark contrast in our living conditions affected me deeply. I had every convenience, and still I found motherhood difficult. I could only imagine what she felt. I empathized with her suffering and fear at a deeper level than I would have before I became a mother. I thought of my ancestral mothers and what generation after generation of women endured for me to exist. I began to feel connection to mothers I had never met throughout time and across the world. This shared experience of motherhood promotes a fellowship of mutual understanding. After you have a baby, it becomes more important for you to be around other mothers. Moms, particularly those with kids the same age as yours, understand what you're going through. There is immediate understanding when you arrive somewhere late because of an extended nap or diaper catastrophe. They get why you just want to talk about your baby or describe the worst night of sleep again. Being surrounded by other mothers is grounding and it's normalizing. It is a deterrent to depression. One part of why the pandemic has been particularly painful for new mothers is the difficulty of connecting with other moms. Pregnancy causes you to think deeply and to honestly assess your partner's ability to parent. You evaluate their capacity to protect and nurture a child. You wonder how supportive they will be of you as a mother. You view your partner through an entirely different lens. This is a common natural shift that often occurs in many women after giving birth. There are multiple factors that reduce sexual desire, such as recovering from physical trauma of giving birth, hormonal changes after birth, and from breastfeeding. Stress and exhaustion due to caring for a baby, and lack of sleep. A common sentiment among women is that after caring for and nursing a baby day after day, they just want bodily space and alone time. The last thing they're in the mood for is to respond to the physical needs of another. Depression and anxiety can also further deplete a woman's sexual desire. It's a tremendous adjustment to go from living as an autonomous being to giving constant care to another human 24/7. Getting breaks from childcare and having good self-care habits can help moms feel more like their old self. Strong support from your partner, both emotionally and through sharing in child and household responsibilities, makes a big difference in increasing your sexual desire. Being a mother significantly changes your responsibilities. First, you hold ultimate responsibility for a life. It begins during pregnancy. You start watching what you eat and you drink more carefully. You visit the doctor probably more than you ever have before. But once your baby's born, you feel the full weight of this responsibility. It's critical for your mental well-being to get periodic breaks when someone else cares for your baby. If you have a partner, allow them and encourage them to also provide care for your baby. If you have family support or awesome friends, accept their help. If you have the financial means for paid help, get it. You experience a loss of freedom. The needs of a baby are constant. The continual attachment can feel like pleasant company sometimes, but is limiting at others. It's normal to sometimes feel tied down. This is yet another reason it's important to have support from a partner, family, friend, or trusted caregiver so you can take a breather when necessary. Mothers often share how much better they feel after going out to get a cup of coffee or grocery shop on their own. Even mundane tasks can feel extra enjoyable. Freedom feels good. Finding balance so that you get time with your baby, yet breaks for yourself, makes the job of motherhood much more pleasurable. Often women fear leaving the professional fast track. Many jobs require long hours, high levels of dedication, and travel. While it's possible to do these things while raising a child, it requires a lot of supportive childcare to make it work. For some people, work seems less important after they have a baby. This can cause a tremendous amount of distress for a previously career-oriented woman, and I've seen this time and time again in my practice. That's not to mention some professions and workplaces are more supportive of families than others. Yet, with the costs of a baby and unpaid time off, earning an income may be more important than ever. This can create a great deal of inner conflict about your professional versus maternal roles. Putting it all together. Each change of motherhood represents both a gain and a loss. With an addition of a baby and all the joy they bring comes the loss of freedom, comfort, routine, and focus on oneself. These often unrecognized losses can trigger feelings of grief at a time one assumes they should be happy. That expectation of bliss can cause the negative thoughts to become so unacceptable that they overwhelm the new mom with extreme guilt. I should be happy right now. I have everything I ever wanted. Something must be wrong with me. If a woman has never been taught that it's common to have both feelings of sadness and loss, as well as happiness during pregnancy and after birth, that lack of knowledge can compound their suffering. These emotions can snowball until she begins to feel abnormal or to think that she is not meant to be a mother. It's perfectly healthy to be both in love with your baby, yet also miss your old life. Acknowledging the normalcy of a mourning process can reduce your anxiety. For many women, this stage is a natural part of the process of becoming a mother. This natural sadness is a sign that the woman recognizes the importance and complexity of her role as a mother. Give yourself ample time and space to navigate this major life transition and to make the necessary adjustments. Start by taking some responsibilities off your plate in order to prepare for the many changes ahead. Allow yourself time to enjoy the changes as they are happening. Reflect upon your life's journey and how you feel about where you are presently.